taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast, your source for news, leaks, and insights about games and the gaming industry. It's January 25th, 2019. This is the Friday edition of the show, and my name is Ashtonity, and of course, I'm here as always with Cybsidian. How's it going, everybody? And how are you doing today, Cyb?
I would rather be playing Anthem right now.
You'd rather be staring at a loading screen rather than doing the podcast with me?
No,
I don't know how to take that, man. I don't.
You ruined my joke, man.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to be. I said I was. I'd rather be playing Anthem right now. However, Anthem right now is more of the endless game of loading screens than it is anything else. So you're not. If you're joining the podcast, thank you for joining the podcast. If you're thinking, gee, I want to play Anthem, don't bother at the moment because the servers are down.
It's been a lot of fun today, so we're going to talk about that as well. We're going to talk about some other concerns that have been raised about the Anthem demo, and whether or not it is going to accurately reflect what we get in the final game. And so we'll be diving into that. We're also going to talk about a CD Projekt Red creative director / head writer / important person there who has jumped ship at CDPR to go to Blizzard. What the heck? And then Cyb also has some thoughts about mobile games he's going to share, and that should be a lot of fun. #CyberRant. So if you're listening live today, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your comments and questions there as well. We will read and respond to as many as we possibly can throughout the podcast. And don't forget to slam that like button to tell us and YouTube that you appreciate this content. If you're listening after the fact on one of the audio-only platforms, which include SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify, we are finally up on Spotify, so you can listen there as well if you want after the fact. But anyway, I mean, the best place to listen is on YouTube to get the, that's the fastest way to get the podcast, but we do put the audio versions up on these other platforms after the fact, so you can listen there. We thank you for your likes, follows, and etc., etc. So that's about all for my intro. Let's see who's here today, everybody. Sword Sister, Mr. French 86, Murden, Overlord 580, Notional Rave, Zoran, and Adam Smith. Hello to you all. Hello to everybody who was in Cyb's quote Anthem live stream earlier. So we can say this about Anthem: it's got some nice loading screens.
Yeah. Well, not really. I mean, it's not like the best loading screens I've ever seen. But
they were decent,
there's definitely a lot of them.
They weren't just boring. They weren't just boring old text flashing by or something, or just some sort.
The UI and the controls are not intuitive at all, which is not new. They weren't. BioWare was never like super intuitive when it came to controls for Mass Effect. Mass Effect took 3 games before it became like, not a difficult thing to play the game with ease. And even then it was like, it wasn't near what some games are. And yeah, it's like going back to like, that kind of a setup and the way that they have the ability to spread out and the way that they do all the kind of stuff. It's like, I still, every once in a while I want to like dodge left, so I hit Q, and then I'm throwing a grenade in my face. It's just great. It's like, wow, I just love that so much. So
why do you bind the throw grenade in your own face button to Q? That's ridiculous.
Well, I don't. They do. I just at any rate, it's an interesting setup. So it like. I always say you have to like at least like spend like a couple hours in the game getting used to the controls, and then you have to do like some challenge stuff, and then you'll have the idea of where it sits. It's also that particular frame. I'm not a super fan of that one particular frame. It's not my. I knew it ever since I saw like the first like stuff on it ages and ages ago. I wasn't a fan of that particular frame, so I'm going to give the other ones a try as soon as I can. So we'll see where that kind of takes us. But at any rate, so that's it's the beta is out today, and we are seeing a lot of connection issues, a lot of difficulty connecting. This is what we saw in the last beta. Couldn't even get in the last one because it was just 8 hours of nonstop trying to connect to servers and that kind of crap. And in this one too, it's like, and this really annoys me because they knew exactly how many people had downloaded the demo. Right? Like, yes, you can download the demo for free right now. You can preload that in most cases, I believe. However, you don't like they should have known. And their first excuse, which I think is an excuse, they said, "Oh, our servers are at max capacity." It's like, hold on. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I'm not calling them liars, but I'm saying that they're trying to use fancy wording. If they only brought up servers for like 100,000 people when they knew that there were 500,000 people waiting to get in, just for rounded number sakes, it's like, what the hell were you thinking? Like, why would you think that this was a good idea? Like seriously, you know that X amount of people downloaded, and you don't even have enough servers prepared for half, and they're like, "Oh, we're adding more server capacity at the moment." So either they're stress testing, and that this isn't necessarily a VIP demo. It's definitely not a VIP demo if they're stress testing, but they can't say that. So then they say something like, "Oh, we're adding more servers to the thing to, take away from the fact that they're just getting us to stress test the game, and that this is not the experience where you get in and you mess around with stuff. They're just benchmarking their stuff."
Either way, it's garbage, and it's a big waste of people's time.
I mean, normally, yeah, there are a handful of people who will get in and be super lucky, and they'll be able to play all the way through the weekend. But that's not what a lot of people are encountering, and there's a lot of people who are having this difficulty. Now, that being said, like I said, this is not a new thing. This is absolutely 100% normal as far as MMOs and online games and that kind of stuff goes. Is that's what you do. I thought it kind of, it's kind of strange whenever somebody says, "Oh, we're not doing a stress test, we're just doing a bunch of open betas." If you ever hear that, 100% that that's complete BS. They are running stress tests during those betas because that's what you do. You have to do that. If you don't do it ahead of release, it's going to happen on release, and it's going to make your first 2 or 3 days absolute crap. So that's really a problem, and that's why I said that I don't think they're being necessarily 100% truthful here, because I think that what they're doing is they're stressing the login servers, because that seems to be where the bulk of the problem is right now, is the login server and some of the loading servers. Once you're in, everything is fine. Once you're in, everything's smooth. There's no teleporting enemies. There's no T-poses. There's no other things that you normally see. I don't think they're stress testing the servers. I think they're stress testing the login servers. I should be clear on that. The login servers is what I think is being put through the ringer right now, and it could be just because everybody's trying to get online at once, and it's like that old concept. It's like doors are not the size of the building that you're filling, right? Because if the door to get into the facility was the size of the facility in and of itself, then you would. I mean, that's just not feasible for construction or planning or anything like that. You're walking into a scenario where you have literally thousands, and in this case probably a million or more people trying to get in at once. You don't need your servers never really go through that too often, only through up times at major peak play times and stuff like that, where you actually have 200,000 people trying to get into the game onto the server itself, and your login server goes from needing to process 10,000 people a minute to trying to process 500,000 people a minute, and obviously that's not built for that kind of a thing. So there is those kinds of problems, and I mean, normally you just fix it with a queue, right, and a number, and it just puts you in the queue, and you just sit back and you just wait. However, that initial login, the initial login server is maybe what they're having issues with, and that sorting system is not working as the way it should. So whatever the case is, basically what we have is we have a game that has been playable for like less than 2 hours since it came out, a couple hours ago. It's been out for about 3.5 hours, and it's been playable for about 1 hour tops by most people. Going off of this and going off, I have a bunch of streams running kind of in the background, and I'm just kind of checking them out. And to me, it looks like a lot of them are constantly running into this issue, and then they just go to talking while they're waiting to get back in again. So that's the big issue. Now that like I said, that's normal. This is not anything that's new. This is normal stuff as far as what MMOs go through, what these types of online experiences are. That's completely normal, and you can't fault anybody because, again, this is 100% a normal occurrence in the everyday world.
Well, we can fault them if they called this a VIP demo and it is actually intended to be a stress test. That I think that we can blast them for that for sure, because that's a kind of a low thing to do. But I mean, yeah, okay, having some problems, yes, is a normal thing. But I guess to me, it's kind of like it's normal for Bethesda games to have bugs, but the fact that it's normal doesn't make it okay, I guess.
Yeah, I get what you're putting down, so, but it's now this is in contrast to our kind of our story that we're talking about, something that popped up about 2 days ago here, and it's been kind of back and forth. So it's been interesting. There was somebody put out a video claiming that the demo is going to not be what the official game is. Mm-hmm. I hate to say it, but honestly, like something's wrong with something's wrong with that train of thinking. The demo is not the full game. The very definition of a demo is a portion of the game,
right,
or a snippet of the game.
But the concern was. Let me just read the tweet that sort of sparked that. It was from Mark Dara at BioWare, and he was explaining how the Anthem demo is going to be different from the main game. And he says things like, okay, we start you in the middle, and there's no tutorials, no character picker, that kind of a thing. But what caught some people's eye was, he said, the balance is super different, and the economy is completely different. And so... Again,
these two things are common in demos. Mm-hmm. A demo is a slice of the game that is representative of a final product. It is by no way, shape, or form a final product. Now, there are some demos that just give you the first level. Yep. However, in the majority of demos from the old days, I'm talking about like traditional demos, when traditional demos were not, stress tests and garbage like that. When a demo was actually a program that ran independent of the full game, that a developer gave you to try, and they would often include things that you would not normally encounter, and in fact, some levels, oftentimes, and I'll give you a quick example. The best example that I can think of off the top of my head that denotes what a real demo is the Jagged Alliance 2 demo. Jagged Alliance 2 was a top-down, turn-based, isometric tactical strategy game. It was really good. It was one of the best of it. It was at the peak of what the genre is. And even with XCOM and XCOM 2, it has never, ever, ever gotten to that level of perfection ever again. We just don't see that level of depth and the level of voice acting. There's in XCOM 2, you have a handful of characters that have their own voice lines, not that many. A lot of them is just recycled stuff, and you can kind of build your own character, but then you don't have a special unique voice that's unique to just that one character. You could find it on a bunch of other characters, etc., 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 etc. In the demo for Jagged Alliance 2, the demo included a town that had its own mission, that had its own secrets, that had its own NPCs who addressed you because you were in the demo. And the dude actually, in scripted dialogue, which was really well done for a demo, it was amazing. It really sold the game. Where the guy talked to you about what the full game was, what the full game would have. He kind of walked you through this short tutorial. There was tons of secrets within the demo in and of itself. You got a plethora of characters that in no way, shape, or form you could afford at the get-go of when you started a game on like a hard difficulty. You just couldn't get this full roster of really awesome characters. But they gave you a roster of characters, some terrible, like a couple of the top ends and then a couple of the low ends. And this massive group not massive, this full team that you had, you could walk in there, you could talk one or two other people into joining you, I think, and then you went through, you cleared out the thing, then you discovered that there was another secret, and then you discovered that there was another secret, and it was so awesome in that regard. That is what a demo is. And this demo, this VIP demo, is actually more akin to that than it is the stress test copycat things that you have going on. And this is what some people reacted to, is the fact that we haven't had an industry that gave us an actual demo for an actual product in so long that people actually forgot what an actual demo was. What an actual demo is there for. And what this demo is giving you it's jumping you right into the middle. No tutorial, no character creation. They're throwing you a bunch of items, and they're giving you an economy that's basically that's super cheap. Saying everything's on sale. You buy, basically, if you play this game like crazy, you're going to be able to buy pretty much everything that there is to offer, that the game has to offer. You're going to be able to mess around with it. You're going to be able to, in a short period of time, you're going to get a massive chunk of the game. Now, some people are saying, but that's wrong. Why is that wrong? Because it's not indicative of the whole experience right now.
Right, and people were concerned that they were going to base reviews off of this, and that it was kind of baiting you in, and that the full game would be way different, or that the economy would be much more of a grind, that kind of a thing. Those were some of the concerns that came out of this.
Now, the question on the grind, let's cover that. So the question on whether or not the grind is unhealthy, that is a really poor argument, because if any studio was able to give you the amount of content that you're going to be able to consume in the demo as a snippet of everyday content that you'll get, and you'd be able to you'd move through that content so fast that you would, like, it's just not possible for a studio. You would need a studio of like 40,000 people to keep up that level of content every day. You would need to, I managed to like clear all this stuff, and I managed to check out 150 weapons, and I checked out all of the character customization and all this stuff in a single day. It's like, wow. Now what is the developer supposed to give you? And so that argument is a little bit flawed. It's understandable in the sense, and this is how this really started, is that, how bad of a reputation EA has, and how bad of a reputation that some of these other companies have. When it comes to this kind of stuff. I mean, Activision just went from selling us a red dot to selling us a red smiley face. It's disgusting, and it's wrong, if I can use that word, and it's predatory. Now, that being the basis, I can definitely understand why some people got upset. I definitely understand that. And that's fine. I'm not upset at the people who misunderstood that and jumped to a conclusion because they're gamers and they're tired of being taken advantage of. What I'm upset with is the people who are supposed to be quote unquote professionals, who are old enough to know what a demo used to be, and then instead of saying, "Hey guys, so what we're getting here is we're getting a demo where we're getting a ton of content, we're getting a ton of weapons, they're giving us a ton of free in-game currencies and all this kind of stuff, and we're going to be able to mess around, and you're going to be able to build a whole bunch of stuff. You're going to be able to buy, dozens of color sets to kind of play with what the color looks like and this kind of stuff." That's great. You know why that's great? Because then you don't have to you don't have to buy those things and then and test them out once the game comes out. This is actually hurting them considerably. This is hurting them for what they're going to get. So a quick example, the color palettes. You can try on the color palettes while you're in the Forge and see what it looks like in the Forge. What it looks like in the Forge, and you encountered this in, I really got to reference this, you encountered this problem in Mass Effect as well. You go into the Forge, you slap on a bunch of colors, you check it out, it looks all great. You're like, okay, cool, purchase, done. You go out into the live game and you discover that when you're out in the live game and you're walking around with a weapon and you're coming up against these weird lighting effects that you didn't have in the Forge when you're putting this stuff and trying it on, you suddenly realize that it makes you look like crap. That green that looked really cool now just looks like puke color, and it's frankly disgusting. And so you step away from that and you're like, ooh, wow. I don't want this color, I want a different color. Well, you already bought the color. So, poo on you. Right? But in the demo here, what they're offering is they're saying, you can go ahead and test all that stuff, get as much of it as you possibly can, and then go into the world, test it out. Then you'll actually see, so that when you go, okay, I don't want that color green because that looks like puke when I'm in that one area. I'm going to go for this color green because that looks really cool when it's up against the water effect.
Right.
Or something like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I think what you're saying is fair, but I also want to echo what, Dr. Stone in the chat is saying here. You have to take into account how EA has treated their customers over the last few years.
Yes.
And so people don't trust EA, and they don't trust the big gaming corporations in general right now. We're expecting,
and nor should you.
We are expecting games to come out and be one thing, and then a few months later, after all the reviews are out, they slap on a ton of microtransactions or change the balance or change the economy. We're expecting them to do this kind of thing. So I do see the cause of the suspicion here. Mm-hmm. Even though there's, like you said, there's legit reasons why a demo would be different from the actual game. They are trying to give you as much of the game experience as they can within a small snippet. Yes, yeah. Makes sense.
And again, I'm not upset at the average Joe who looks at this scenario, and the average Joe and the average Jane is looking at the scenario and going, "Wow, I'm floored at why would they change the economy?" But then it's up to the veterans, so to speak, to say, oh no, this used to be how most demos worked. Most demos you'd load in and you'd have like all the weapons or whatever. I think even don't quote me on this because I don't know how accurate it is, but I do remember a demo of Doom, and going around in that demo, you started in with like the BFG gun, right? And you just started with that. Really? Well, once you got the full game, I might be confusing it with a Doom clone, or maybe maybe it was Wolfenstein or something like that. We're talking like early DOS days, so this is like going back way back. And I remember that once we got the full game, you didn't have that starting weapon. You had to work your way, to get it, and then you were able to utilize it. Same thing with Jedi Knight. Not the Jedi Knight, Dark Forces 2. No, Dark Forces 1. Dark Forces 1, same thing. In the demo first level there was a railgun. And you could pick up the railgun and you could mess around and create some awesome effects with that. Once the full game came out, railgun was not there. It was not in that starting level. You didn't get it until a couple of levels down the road. And then it was in a super secret place, and then you didn't find it like a lot until like way late into the game. So that's part of this thing where it's like, and that's normal. Veterans should know this and should be able to communicate this, not fly off the handle and say, these people are deliberately trying to trick you into thinking that the economy is going to be cheaper by telling you that the economy is going to be cheaper so that you can experiment in the demo before you get the full game. That's the point that I'm saying. That's the thing that was dishonest by some people who jumped on this and who made a mountain out of it. But the reason why I'm not calling them out by name is because they did retract it.
Yes, well, Michael Gamble, the lead producer at BioWare and for Anthem, he responded to this on Twitter saying, I've seen some comments about the demo economy being different than the full game. 1, the demo is not used for reviews of the game. The full game economy is part of the review copies. It's a demo. Now, That said, someone might base a review off the demo, but hopefully they would indicate this is the demo version. 2, we have been open and honest about this. 3, the demo is free February 1st. No, nothing to lose.
Except for the bandwidth.
Maybe this... Okay, I'm sorry. This isn't the tweet that I meant to read. Anyway, somewhere he responded saying that they wanted to give people... They wanted to let players experience more in a shorter period of time. You start at level 5 in the demo. You can only go to level 10. You only get it for a weekend. They wanted people to be able to experience more of the game. Have things be a little cheaper. Anyway, it makes sense. His response, I apologize. I pulled up the wrong tweet here. But anyway, so kind of echoing what Saib said there. But anyway, we haven't been able to get in and try it ourselves because of the connection problem. So hopefully they do expand the server.
No, I got in. I did the first mission, but I just didn't get to the victory screen. I got loaded out, and then it just crashed again.
Oh, you must have done that during one of the points where I logged off.
You were away. Yeah, you were away when I got in. So I got in, managed to like mess around, get a bunch of stuff, like fire off a bunch of things. I collected a bunch of stuff, but then I didn't. And I completed the mission, but I didn't get to the victory screen because it crashed out on me. So whether or not that's going to affect that, we don't know yet. So, and that's the way that it is with most people. Most people, they're lucky if they've been in for like an hour. I was in for about 40 minutes ish. Managed to get a single thing, and then that was about it. So.
Well, I'll have to go look at the restream and check that out. What I did see when you were in the sort of the hub area. Looked decent. It was really funny when you'd walk up to people who, were saying random dialogue, and you'd try to talk to them, and then the window would pop up saying, this content is not available in the demo. And I just thought, I have a new tactic for when I don't want to talk to people. They say, hey, how you doing? I'm sorry, this content is not available in the demo. I just walk away.
Use that. I have to use that at some point. Oh, that would be really funny. Or tell people press F to pay respects. I got to do that. I got to do that at some point in the real world. I got to get my Android body working again.
Notional, did the demos used to have you download the whole game at 50 gigabytes? Well, no. No, that was the thing.
That was the thing back then. Some demos, because I was a demo like massive demo consumer. I didn't have a lot of money for games, so what I did is I had a subscription to PC Gamer, and PC Gamer would send you a disc as like connected to their magazine, and you could plug in the disc and you could play like 2 or 3 demos came with each disc every month. So there were a lot of games where I played like the demo, and then I really loved demos where it would come in and the world would be absolutely massive, and you could like explore a lot, and you could really like create your own fun for many more hours than what was originally intended. I think in one of them we got the Warcraft, I think it was Warcraft 2 demo or Warcraft 1 demo, and they put in a level editor at one point. I was like, that was their mistake, because I didn't buy that for like years later, because all I did was just created levels in the level editor and then played them myself. So yeah, it's hilarious and interesting. So yeah. But anyways,
Darkus says when you take his ideas into context, we didn't see any new weapons, just a rifle, just an armor, no customization at all, and just a mission with most being killing NPCs, and I had no idea what it was about. Well, hopefully we can get more of an idea over the course of the weekend. Hopefully they sort of expand all that.
This is only Friday. I mean, I suspect that they're mostly stressing the login servers today, and that tomorrow the game will be much more playable, because Saturday is the big day, right?
Right. Yeah. I was thinking. And I think it's Friday morning, and their servers are at capacity. Like.
Yeah,
wow, that's...
and again, that didn't make too much sense to me, because I'm like, aren't most people still in like school and work and stuff like this? Like, really? And so why I think that I don't think the servers are necessarily at capacity. I think they're stressing their login servers or their verification servers, and in doing so, they're stressing their their system, or the system is stressing out because it's not built to take that kind of punishment. Yeah, and so.
However, they do make sure that their software will run indefinitely in the background on your computer, even when you tell it to quit. I had Origin pop up on my screen in the middle of inputting like the title and description of the podcast today. Suddenly, the Origin login screen pops up on my screen for the app. I was like, wait a minute, I told you to quit.
Yeah.
So I quit. I quit it out, or I went and looked in the bottom right corner for the little icon. It's not there. Went into my task manager. That's what it's called. Went into my task manager and found the darn thing and killed it. It's like you got
to do that.
It's like you're not even gonna quit when I tell you to quit. That's just oh man, that's ridiculous.
I had to do the exact same thing while I was working with the actual demo itself, because when I quit out the demo once, it didn't actually quit out. It just like, it stealth quit, but then it was stealth running in the background. So
it's like, thanks. I want you to be taking up all my extra resources. Yes, I've got a decent computer, but come on. I can't have a million of these little programs running all the time. If Origin updates next week instead of the second that the new update is out, that's okay. Believe it or not, I'm okay with that. All right, rant over.
All right, so moving on, we encounter the next problem, or the next thing that I want to talk about, which is kind of connected to this. So there's a problem, it's a pretty significant one, that happened in the mobile gaming front. And why I'm talking about mobile gaming is because I want you all to remember that mobile gaming is the worst of the worst of the worst right now. And that is where we are headed if these studios decide that this is just more profitable. In the long run, this is where we're headed. And the main thing is that, so there's this game that came out this week that had been advertised a lot. I saw some stuff, and I decided I was watching an ad on a channel that I support, and the ad popped up, and it says, press here to register for when the game comes out later this week. And I was like, okay, all right, I'll press the register button, because then it actually gives the person a little bit more revenue because you clicked on the ad in their video. So I clicked on that and I registered for it. And then a couple days later, oh ding, it's available. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So go to the page, look at the page, scroll down. It's got more 1-star reviews than it has green star 5-star reviews. And I'm like, whoa, something's going on here. So I start to go through the comments, and it's really interesting. The pre-register that you did with Google Play, and this was the same for Apple, and this was the same for a bunch of other things, didn't work. And a lot of people were really, really upset with this, because they got in to the game and they said, hey, where's my pre-register reward? And the GM would come on and say, oh, sorry, you had to go to our website and fill in some personal information and then tie it to your Facebook account in order to get the pre-order package, or the pre-register package. And so naturally people were really upset with this. Why would you be upset with this? Well, primarily because, it's, if you're expecting one thing and you get not that thing because, you didn't jump through the right hoops, and then they say, well, sorry, you're out of luck, you can't get this anymore, then people got upset. But what was even worse than this, and this is where, again, if we let this happen, this is where gaming is headed. The game wanted permissions to access and to record your microphone at any time, while the game was on or off. It wanted access to your pictures.
On or off?
Yes. It wanted access to your pictures. It wanted access to your videos. It wanted access to to one of your social media accounts so that it could post for you. And pretty much there was just a ton of people were like, nope, not doing this. Sorry, game's dead to me. You're dead to me. Screw you, 1 star. And they immediately uninstalled the app. So I started to look into this, and sure enough, they wanted full access to your microphone, so that they could not stream you live, like WhatsApp or something like that. They wanted access to record what was being said around the microphone, and then to use that in however they deemed necessary. Now they said, oh, this is because during the raids and during the endgame content, there's a voice chat, a group chat, and you can sit there and talk amongst yourselves and do strategy planning. And I'm like, yeah, that's a really piss poor. It's a mobile game. I don't see anybody forming raid groups to take on I don't know, maybe that's just me. But also, like, a lot of this is a global launch. You're launching it globally, and you're not restricting this stuff to areas. So what's the problem? So I kept looking through the other chat. There was a couple other comments from some other reviews. There was apparently a chat box that took up about half the screen that you couldn't get rid of. It was just there all the time, and it was global chat. So first of all, it's going by like crazy, and second of all, there was no filter, so you were getting things like nonstop. Every possible dirty word you think of was flowing by in the chat nonstop. And it's like, yeah, I can't let my kids play this game, or I don't want to play this game if I have to look at, this kind of stuff being posted nonstop. And also not only in just, it's a global launch, so it's not just English, it's in every other, it's every other language that the game supports. And just looking at this and realizing how crappy this is the future of gaming if people don't start supporting other stuff, or if people continue to support this kind of stuff. If people keep on buying into this, frankly, this horrendous, like, seriously, this is like, 1980 Orville. Like, seriously, it's hey, we want access to record whatever you're saying, whatever you're doing. And hey, don't mind us that, we're backed by, a certain, country that has very little care for rules and access to information and all that.
Well,
don't mind that. That's shocking to me.
We all know that our phones are probably already doing that anyway, but
yeah, well, I mean, if you don't know how to scrub your phone from some of these programs, and even then, you're only getting the stuff from from companies that are going out of their way to get access to it. Let alone the fact that again, this isn't a conspiracy. This is 100% proven fact. There are government agents who, again, leaked documents have proven. There's this whole thing with the LG TVs where they were on all the time, sending data to a certain security agency, recording everything that was being said inside earshot of that microphone inside your house. This was caught. This was like exposed, and people got in trouble for it. Because again, it's like, oh, well, I guess we're okay with this. Like it's legitimately scary. So I'm just saying, as we've had some negative stories in the news lately about video games on the consoles and the PCs. Just remember, things could always be worse. And when it comes to big companies, which we're going to talk about Blizzard in a minute here, and CDPR, when it comes to these big companies, don't encourage this kind of stuff. They put out a game like this, I highly recommend you download it, give it a 1-star, write a terrible review, uninstall it. Done. And that's exactly what I did with this last game. Because it's like, this stuff is unacceptable, period. You can't do this kind of stuff and get away with it. So, trash them as much as you want, as much as you possibly can. Because there was a bunch of people, there was some comments, oh, I gave this a 5-star because there's so many people being, negative about it. I didn't play the game, I just saw that people were being negative, so I gave it a 5-star, didn't understand what was going on, then left because I'm not a consumer of this stuff. But hey, I showed up to give them a positive thumbs up. Why? Because I guess people are,
they just wanted to be a good Samaritan for the day, but we're slightly misguided.
Yeah. I guess. It's like, hey, you want to be a good Samaritan? Do that on social media, maybe. Why do it for a company, a big company that's interested in taking advantage of your personal information for personal gain? It's like, Why?
It is astounding how much
shocking
information these corporations have on us. Internet privacy is kind of a joke. Whenever I have to put my information into somewhere to get access to something, you know, I sometimes have to do that for signing legal agreements with YouTube or etc. And I'm almost like, I don't want to put my real information in here. Then I remember that they have it all anyway and more. So
yeah.
Okay. But anyway, some quick tips for protecting yourself online. This is Ash's PDA for the day. Always cover your webcam or physically unplug it, as I do. Use a mechanical switch to turn off your microphones and or, you know, physically unplug it so it's not running, not connected to your computer. Keep your phone in a locked lead box and never open it ever. There. That's how you can make sure that the NSA is not getting your information and that you're keeping yourself completely safe online. Thanks for everybody for the excellent conversation. Yeah?
Sorry, keep going.
I was just, if you had a witty follow-up to that, I wanted to hear it. But we love seeing the...
So we have in the past, Ash can attest to this, I do some work with some security stuff from time to time. And there are times where I'm like, okay, give me your phone. I'm going to put it in this box that is, you know, soundproof. And then I'm going to put it underneath a pillow. And then I'm going to put it underneath, like, another pillow, just to make sure that no sound is being recorded from this device so that we can talk about this stuff that's rather sensitive. It's like, you have to do that these days. And it's crazy that you have to do this. And this is we're in a relatively free part of the world. There was another story that I heard very, very quickly, where a guy's working in a particularly large country that starts with a C. And he noticed that one of his workers was having to walk to work. And he's like, hey, do you want me to organize a ride for you? And they said, no, I can't do that because I have to get a certain number of steps in a day or my social media will lock and I will not be able to use social media. And that's a government-enforced program in this one particular country that starts with a C.
I can only imagine what country you're talking about.
Seriously. If you think that...
Is it Canada, eh?
It's not Canada. But it does end with an A, but it's much shorter.
You're being so cryptic. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes. So this is a thing. This is a thing. So expect this in the future. This is coming to your doorstep. If you don't, like, you know, go out of your way to make sure that that this kind of stuff doesn't end up in your backyard. Well, get active in some level. Like, I don't care about, like, pretty much any of your politics. I don't care. It goes in any direction. But the one thing that I draw the line at is this kind of, like, you know, government, big brother over the shoulder looking at you, because there is not a country in the history of mankind that's had that power that has not abused it at some point. And it's like, do you want to be the candidate for being taken advantage of in this way? Are you willing to be the first to, you know, be stripped of all your, to be stripped of everything, innocent or not, and thrown in a, you know, quote unquote gulag, just because you had, you know, wrong think, or just because you didn't get in enough steps in the day? Enough steps. Oh my goodness.
And have your social media locked. That is crazy. That is.
And again, government run program down there, or not up there. Or it's over there. It's over there.
That's
anyways,
Big Brother to them. Yeah, that's crazy. Anyway, thanks for the excellent conversation in the chat. I'm going to get to some of the comments here right away, but if you want to keep the conversation going after the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S fans about all the things we love to talk about and stay up to date about everything we're doing here at the Triple S League. Click the link below to join, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. Dominican Gaming Family says, speaking of mobile, did anyone see the review of Alien Blackout Mobile by IGN? I was just looking for it. I cannot see, I can't find an IGN review. There's one on Polygon, there's one on some other sites. I will say I don't trust big, reviews on gaming media sites personally. I would be more inclined myself to go to the actual game and read the user reviews on it. But anyway, I couldn't find that one in particular, but if you had something you wanted to comment about it, please, just put a follow-up in the chat there. HTK Gaming, what's up, fellas? Made it to the live show again. New record, 2 in a row. Glad you're here. Let's see.
I have been watching some of the reviews come in for Alien Blackout. Probably should have tacked that onto the actual list of things we're going to talk about today. It's generally what they were going for was a generally good concept. As far as how they wanted to bring it to a larger audience in the form of, going mobile, but it just didn't do that well enough, and ultimately comes off as a really kind of a dumb / boring / stupid experience. And this is the majority of where the reviews are coming from. The majority of people are starting to lean towards this way. Huge mistake for them. Absolutely huge. Why they did this, I know why they did this, but why they didn't do this in conjunction with making a decent version of this on consoles and PC, making it as good as they could, and then porting it over to a mobile device would have been so much better, so much easier. And should one of those two things, kind of flop, then they would have had the other one to back up, to kind of save their butts with. And in this case, this did not work. The reviews for this are coming out to be pretty negative, and I suspect it will only get worse. Most likely that is the case, and we'll see where that goes, because this is not looking good right now. Now this is very early. I haven't actually had time to play it through myself, but at the moment, it's not looking great. And what the easiest way they could have done to avoid this was building it for like a PC console first, then porting it over. And the worst you could have said was, the port to mobile didn't really work, right? But now it's the whole game. It's their whole thing. It's everything. They put it into this stupid mobile thing, trying to test something that they didn't even know whether it would work or not, putting it out, hoping that it didn't flop, and then seeing that it did. And that's the case where it looks like that's what we're looking at here. So I would, again, I'm gonna encourage you, if you're a big fan of the series, check it out. Check out the gameplay a little bit more in depth, and then wait for the official release, because there's bound to be some generalized improvements. And again, if this doesn't go out very well, hit them hard. Like hit them really hard, because this was a really dumb decision. I'm not upset with them for coming up with the generalized concept to say, hey, it's a good idea to go out of our way to make sure that we get an experience that's not terrible. So we'll make it on the PC, we'll make it on the consoles, and if it and then we'll make a port, because it's easy to port any game over to mobile. It's really not that hard. And so if they had done that, then they would have secured their positive next step in the series, and then they would have been able to test with the mobile game. Because if the mobile game didn't do anything, then it's fine. But now they put all their eggs in one basket, and and that's a shame too, because there's a lot of voice acting, there's a lot of hard work that went into this, and it definitely could have worked way better on the PC and on the consoles first, and then having it ported over, it could have found a lot of fame, and that's the most important thing, because again, when you skip consoles, when you skip the PC, you're skipping a big portion of what gaming is all about these days, and that's the live streams, that's the let's plays, that's the reaction plays, and especially for a horror game, that's about 40% of your sales right there. For a horror game, easily 40% of your sales are based off of what community reactionary content is created around your game.
Mm-hmm.
And we know this. We know this from the GDC stuff. We know this from sales. We know this from a ton of stuff. Slenderman sold. In the case of Slenderman sold because of Let's Plays, period. If that game had come out by itself, it would have had a very tiny, minute following. Nobody would have given it a second look or second thought if there weren't people playing it and putting up their reactions and streaming it out live and, you know, scaring themselves crapless and you know, taking off their headphones and running away out of the room, or, you know, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I miss
that's what
watching Markiplier play the Five Nights at Freddy's games. Oh man, those were good times.
And again, it's like that is a pillar to your sale of this product, and they decided to skip that whole thing and go straight to mobile. It's like, what? Whoever was your analyst telling you that this was a good idea, you need to not ever hire that person again. In fact, you should probably go out of your way to sue them, and at the very least, just tie them up in some legal expenses for a while, because this, everybody knows this is one of my sore spots. An analyst's job is to look at this scenario and say, you do realize that nearly half of your sales is going to revolve around what streamers are streaming this and reacting with this. You're not going to get that experience when you port this thing over to mobile. You're just not going to get that same experience, period. It's just not going to be the same. It's not to say that VR or AR or mobile devices can't be scary in the future, but you would have to trailblaze that as an experience. And unless you are certain 100% that you can do that, don't even try it. Because trailblazing something like that is you're not just, it's not just a new genre. It's not a new take on a new genre. You're having to trailblaze technology plus hardware plus effect plus cultural effect. That is the amount of times a company has been successfully able to do this. I can count on one hand and still have some fingers to spare. Okay? So doing this is a monumental, ludicrously stupid idea. And if any analyst tells a company that, oh no, this is a great idea, mobile marketing, so they don't understand it. They're only looking at numbers. They don't understand what is actually going on. They're just trying to repeat things that they've seen somebody else talk about. And we talk about this, how I know analysts who show up, look at the thing, do everything by the numbers, and get it 100% completely wrong. You know, we Ash knows my success rate in calling certain large events in public spaces. I have a very high track record for that in comparison to other people in my field who have a 5%. That's right, 5% success rate in calling these things. How they're an analyst, how they get more jobs, how they get a paycheck from month to month, I have no idea. I have no idea. What stupid moronic person is walking into a room assuming that they've looked at a handful of charts and they're able to call something like this, despite the fact that it being done less than 5 times previous to them, period. And they think they can shoehorn it in? It's ridiculous.
All right.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Hashtag CybAnalyst rant. We've had a few of those on our show before. We've got people in chat trying to guess the mystery country you're talking about. Canada, Russia, that doesn't start with a C. California, Catalonia, Cuba. You guys are getting closer.
There actually is a ton of countries that start with a C and end with an A. I didn't realize how many there were. It's China, guys. It's China.
Yeah.
So anyways, moving on, we've got some pretty yummy cyberpunkish news.
So the first though, Notional says, since this is the 100th episode, you should speak in Canadian for the rest of the episode, eh? Well, when you take into account the conversion rate from American, this is actually the 136th episode, so we need to take that into account, and I think let's all just stop making a big deal over whose podcast has more episodes, eh?
It's
all right. Sorry, that was dumb. But I just had to. Okay. So a big name has departed from CD Projekt Red, and of all places gone to Blizzard, which is a company that we have been talking about quite a bit recently due to some of its questionable decisions and its performance in the stock market, etc. Sebastian Stepien, I'm probably saying his name horribly wrong, but he started at CD Projekt Red in August of 2006. This is according to his LinkedIn profile, and this has been picked up by a bunch of major news outlets. Worked as lead story developer and then creative director as of 2013. That's a key year. So that was so he was either working on Witcher 3 or Cyberpunk 2077 at that point, and anyway, he's been involved in all of the Witcher games plus Cyberpunk 2077, and since 2016 he was working as a narrative and setting director, which is why I put. So he's been called. Some news sites are calling him head writer. Some are calling him creative director. He's kind of done a mix of things, but is definitely heavily involved in the writing. But as of January 2019, he is now a creative director at Blizzard Entertainment.
Now, he left CDPR a couple months ago. It was known that he left, and it was known that he left for a new studio. This was not a surprise, and there's some people who are. It's just because it came out clear that he's now gone and he's working for Blizzard. This caused a bunch of people to actually take note of this whole scenario. So they're bringing up a bunch of stuff that had been dealt with before. I'm not actually sure if we had talked about it back in the fall last year, but basically the running gist is that the guy is a writer and one of the creative directors. Your job on that kind of a thing lasts until you hit about 1 or 2 steps before the beta, and then that's it. You have some minor like mop-up work that you're doing. You go in and you tweak some stuff here or there, or you maybe sit down and you start working on DLC content. You do not sit back and do, next to, you're not busy every day. You're not running around from, task to task, trying to get them done, trying to get them maxed out.
Right. Well, and as we know, like as of E3, Cyberpunk 2077 was playable from beginning to end, at least in terms of the main quest line. So the story is done. The story,
yes.
There may be some writing here or there that's being tweaked, but his main job there is done for that game.
So this is really because their creative director is finished, and he did not leave the company in a bad reputation. He left the company, and I'll explain why he left the company in a second here. But he didn't leave them in a bad way, which means that they were pretty much expecting it. They probably would have preferred to keep him around, but they also understood that he's got he's got offers that have come in that if he takes these things he's gonna be able to regardless of the fact that Blizzard is in some serious problems with Activision, and that they are most likely going to be crashing and burning sometime soon, they do have a lot of money to hire people straight up, and that him joining Blizzard was probably a pretty good move in the way of being able to guarantee a large amount of money at the best point in his career. He's just come off of making a major year game of the year game, and he had great success with that with The Witcher. Then he moved over to, and now he's moving over to he moved over to Cyberpunk. He did that as well. That one's probably going to knock it out of the park again. He's probably going to get all these accolades, all these awards and stuff for the writing and for the direction and that. And now he's able to take that over and move that over into a studio that was willing to pay him, and I would bet that they probably gave him close to $1 million for a signing bonus, or something around $1 million at the very least. that's a pretty good move considering that he wasn't making nearly that much at CDPR. CDPR is still Polish studio. They're expanding very quickly, but they're still pretty small in the form of like they wouldn't have been able to give him, you know, between a $5 and a $10 million bonus. That's just probably not going to happen. Whereas if he moves over, he can sign up with Blizzard. He'd probably make $1 million on the spot by doing that. And what he's doing is he's writing for a new game or a new something. He's writing for something coming up here shortly, which is rumored to be a new IP, or is rumored to be maybe he's joining to write on Diablo 4. I think he's probably there for a new IP. I've been hearing some rumors. So if that's the case, then he's writing for a whole new project, which means if that project is successful, if it endures, I don't know, let's say 80% of the success that Overwatch had, he's probably going to walk away from that with a $10 million to $20 million bonus. So that's pretty good. And, you know, being the lead creative writer for a new IP like that for Blizzard would be huge, would be a ton of money, would be an enormous amount of fame. He would probably then be able to write, you know, from there he'd probably be able to get into any other video game company, hell, maybe even movies or something like that, at the snap of a finger. So that this is a huge move for him. It's very, very beneficial to him to do this.
It definitely looks that way. It's curious that in the wake of us talking about Blizzard so much because of them hemorrhaging staff and losing their CFO, and Activision losing their CFO, and all of these shakeups happening, and seeing their stock prices not doing so great, that somebody from CD Projekt Red, you know, would almost looks like they're jumping ship over to a sinking ship. But you know, that was kind of my first reaction. Now maybe things are going to turn around. Maybe he'll help things improve.
You know what?
There.
You know why you know why you would jump onto a sinking ship, though, right? Because a sinking ship is the only time that you can probably get access to their treasures and steal away for yourself. It is honestly one of the easiest ways to get. There's two things that happen when a company closes down: chaos, panic, and then like you have. I don't want to get too much into economics, but there's been times in the past where certain companies have gone under, and have gone under quite quickly, and people basically like looted the company on the way out. And some people were able to get like, you know, millions of dollars from some of these companies on their way out the door just by grabbing the right kind of stuff. And in some cases, especially if it's like an IP or something like that, it's even better. Am I saying he did that for this reason? No. I honestly think that he probably thinks that, you know, that it could be turned around, so to speak. That if he's able to write a really amazing story, and if he's able to be put in charge of a project as a creative director, that he could probably, you know, do a really good thing. And they are looking to create some content that's a little bit more darker and a little bit more adult orientated, because they realize that there's money to be made there. So for sure they're looking to take advantage of that. And in this particular case, you know, this is what they're moving towards. This is what they've been you know, this is what they're interested in doing, and you know, basically it's yeah. So I think ultimately that's the general direction of why he left. Now, what does this mean for CDPR and Cyberpunk 2077? This means that the project is a lot closer to being wrapped up than a lot of people were thinking 6 months ago. 6 months ago, people were like, "Oh yeah, it's going to be like another year, 2 years at the you know, at the very least, 2 years at the very least." Again, I don't know why people keep thinking that. This is clearly like this is clearly a sign that, hey, he's done his job, which means that there's only really polish now left. And how much polish, like polishing a game for 3 years? We talked, I think, about one of the saddest stories in gaming. One of the games that had so much potential was named like Game of the Year or Game of the Show multiple times while it was in development, and they put it into permanent development hell because the creator wanted to get it perfect. And every time he got it close to perfect, he would find another minor flaw. And he would try and fix that minor flaw. And then he would need to go back because that minor flaw exposed another minor flaw. And what happens is you'll never, ever, ever be satisfied. Ever. There's lots of jobs where, I mean, this is a really applicable example, where the harder you try, the more you cause issues and the more problems you cause. It's like this is insanity to try and keep it going. So CDPR is not like that. They're not going to be trying to polish this thing for the next 3 years. They're going to polish it as best as they can, but at some point they got to just put it out, and then they'll polish up any other bits here and there. They much more have their head on their shoulders when it comes to this kind of thing than when you're looking at some of these other companies that will over polish until they've polished it down to nothing.
Nobody polishes like the Polish, though.
Yeah, ha ha ha. It's like starting out with a boulder and trying to polish it down to a large rock. You're trying to polish it down to like a bowling ball size, but then you keep polishing, eventually you'll just be left with a pearl, right? And then it's like, if you go too much, then it's like, oh, got to start over from scratch again. I know lots of artists who do that, where I'm watching them work, and they work and they work and they work and they work, and then they make one or two mistakes, too many mistakes, and what do? They walk away from it, they put their hands up and go, I got to start all over again. And they tear it all down, and they start all over again, trying to chase that absolute perfection that in some cases then they never attain. And so that's in this case. I think what this shows is that, to put it in a box, CDPR is much further along than a lot of people have been giving them credit for, and a lot of people are expecting. This just reinforces that. He made this jump over because it was a financial decision, a really good one, no doubt for him. If he works over there the next couple of years, he's going to be getting credit for Cyberpunk 77 constantly. Constantly he's going to be getting credit for this thing. If this ends up to be Game of the Year, then he's going to have that on him for the next 2 or 3 years from now. And all the while, he's working at Blizzard, and if the project there falls through, he's just going to be able to walk to any other studio that he wants. And if he's able to control it, and if he's able to put out a product that he wants, that's in the vein of the quality of the last 2 games that he's worked on, then I suspect quite strongly that might be the big turnaround that Blizzard needs. And I think that's exactly why they hired him, because they realized that they needed this kind of stuff. Now, whether or not Activision has poisoned them to the point where this is no longer workable, that remains to be seen as well. So that's the skinny on what's going on there in that particular situation. Other than that, there's not much else. There's not too many other heavy news sources. There's the French article that we covered a couple days ago, or was it almost like a week and a half ago now? Some of the mainstream are finally starting to catch up to it. Hey, look at this amazing French article that dropped a whole bunch of juicy information on this, 2 weeks ago. It's like, yeah, good for catching up.
Just goes to show that subscribing to the Triple S League and listening live to the Augmented Reality podcast is a good thing to do if you're interested in the latest in gaming news. We definitely try to keep it fresh. We try to keep it. We try to bring you not just the news, but some of Cyb's analytical insights. Of course, you get our opinions on certain things. So we hope that mix creates something that you all value, and we know a lot of you do. We definitely appreciate seeing a lot of the same names back in the chat day after or week after week, episode after episode. We've done 100.
There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people who listen to us religiously on the various platforms that we put the podcast out to in the audio form. Thank you for listening on the audio form. We really got to say that. And I know a lot of these people don't ever show up on YouTube. I don't know why. Why you don't do that, I don't know. YouTube is not the perfect platform, so maybe that's why, or maybe there's some other issues there, or maybe you're just on the go too much and you just listen from the podcast. Thank you so much for that, and we really do appreciate that. And leave us a comment somewhere. We'll try and get to them. We love seeing the people in the chat, and we love calling out, who's here and who's watching. We don't always get to do that on the podcast version. So, but thank you nonetheless. Thank you, big thank you for that. And and we're going to be playing Anthem for the next couple of days here. I'll be streaming on and off. I'll be only taking a break when I need to either give my throat give my vocal cords a quick rest, or if I'm trying to catch up on some sleep or something like that. But we're going to be playing the crap out of this because we want to know, is this a game we want to sink some time into? Is it a game that you guys are interested in? We've got The Division 2. We've got a ton of other games coming out. We've got some Civ stuff coming out. So there's a lot of things to pick from, and time is going to get really tight. On top of that, we are working on a bunch of other stuff, and we're going to try and get some more comedy stuff out, because we realize that you guys really like the comedy stuff, and we really like making it. We're pranksters / jokers, pretty much. Like that's how we originally got started. So that's fun for us. So if you enjoy that stuff, I mean, spread it around. If you know any Canadians, send out that Canadian video that we did, because they might find that really funny. So, but if we get more interest in that stuff, we'll definitely keep it up, because it's fun for us to do.
Darkus says, what about the Resident Evil 2 remake? If you're interested in us doing some content on that, we could definitely look at it. We haven't done a ton of stuff in the horror genre, but that is a big one that people have been looking forward to. So
and it's been done really, really well, like really, really well. This is definitely like lining up to be potentially Game of the Year, and it's taking us back to what made that genre great, and it's taking us away from the kind of I don't know, like the cheaper versions of the horror genre that had been,
like the cheap jump scare kind of thing.
Yeah, the cheap jump scares.
Like jump scare, like I do enjoy a good. Well, I should say, if a jump scare game is done right, like Five Nights at Freddy's was done right, and then of course there was what's it called? The Jump Scare Mansion. It was this sort of retro graphics little game. The whole point was jump scares. And some of them were like these cute little critters that would jump at you, and you'd still be like, bah! Anyway, it's something that the original series, which was, I mean, I was a kid when the original stuff came out, and it was done really, really well, and it was very enjoyable, and it really set the standard for what a heart pumping genre could do, and you don't really have that in a lot of the games today. You don't really have that same kind of feel, that same kind of not from the big studios. From the little studios, you get this a lot. I remarked that one of the cool things about this remake is that it reminded me of a lot of these indie games that had been out recently, because the indie games saw that there was this desire to have this old school kind of like original Resident Evil content out, and this was a big push that people were wanting to play and wanting to get their hands on. And so it's cool to see that some of the big studios are finally coming back to this, going, you know what, maybe we should just focus on making good games. It's like, what a concept.
What a concept. Just make good games. Stop throwing in garbage meant to sell stuff. Just go back to good story writing and good gameplay. It's like shocker. You sell a lot of games when you do that. it's shocking, but it's good. It's good. I'm seriously looking forward to it. So
All right. Well,
I probably won't play that one though, because overall I'm not. Although I did used to play it, I'm not a huge fan of the whole zombie thing right now. It's just not on my list of.
I might check it out.
However,
And let us know.
We might get Ash to do it.
Yeah, I might check it out. I do enjoy a good horror game every now and then, and if that's something you guys are interested in seeing, and I mean, join our Discord server. Let us know what games you want us to cover, what news you want us to look into. We've got a whole section there for that. We try to stay on top of it as much as we can. Sometimes we just give a quick reply. You know, if there's not much news, sometimes we'll bring it to the podcast or make a video if there's a lot to talk about. But if you actually want to see gameplay of, you know, a game, either to sort of assess for yourself whether or not you want to buy it or just for fun, whatever, we do enjoy doing that kind of stuff too. So definitely do that. Definitely let us know. And thank you everybody for supporting this show. Before you close that browser or the YouTube app or click away to the latest PewDiePie, definitely slam that like button to let us know and to let YouTube know that you appreciate this content. And I want to especially thank our Patreon supporters, Old Man Manson, and our 2 anonymous supporters. And if you're listening after the fact on SoundCloud, iTunes, or Spotify, we thank you for subscribing, reviewing, liking, reviewing. I said that already. And whatever you do on those different platforms, they call it different things, but you know what I'm talking about. And feel free to join us on Tuesday at noon Pacific time, 3 p.m. Eastern time for the live show, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Ashenity, and on behalf of Canadian Gamer number 2, thank you so much for listening. Take off, eh?